Picture this. You get home from an incredibly stressful day and you just need to get your mind off of things. So you decide to transport yourself to a completely different world, a world where you can be whoever you want, see whatever you want, and do whatever you want. For some people, this transportation happens through books. For others, it may be through TV shows or through movies. But for me, it's through video games. Video games have always been there for me, even when I was a kid. I love them so much because there are so many different styles and worlds that I can play. I can play to suit my mood that I'm in or change my mood even. And it's honestly a deep form of meditation for me. I personally find video games the best way to unwind, and I want to explain why a little bit more in depth. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that there are so many different settings and styles of games, and I can pick a world, whether it's fictitious or realistic, and explore this world to my heart's content. I can travel through the realistic mountains of eastern Montana. I can wander through a desolate wasteland 200 years after an apocalypse. I can explore ancient Egypt in the days of Cleopatra, or I could defend the human race on an entirely different planet. And then there's the fact that I can choose a game to either suit my mood that I'm in or completely change my mood. So if I'm feeling like I need to blow off steam, I can drive recklessly through the streets of a fictitious town. If I'm feeling bored, I can go on an adventure. If I'm feeling creative, I can build and decorate a beautiful mansion. And if I need to feel a sense of accomplishment, I can work on a difficult achievement or a difficult task because there's nothing like the thrill of achieving something that you've been working so hard on for so long. And not to mention the pure nostalgia that you get from playing games you did as a kid or as a teen. And now probably the biggest benefit that I personally get out of video games is that it's a deep form of meditation for me. I can deeply focus on the storyline of the game. I can search for lore about the world that I'm playing in, or I can take a step back and just take in the breathtaking views of the world that I'm playing. I can lose myself in a game for hours without thinking about the stress of the real world. I mean, just for example, I lost myself playing or picking fictitious weeds for over an hour. The possibilities are endless, and that is why I love video games. I love that there are so many styles and settings to explore. I love that I can play to fit my mood or change my mood. And I love getting lost in a beautifully made game. Video games have always been there for me, and that I can't appreciate that enough. We all transport ourselves into a different world in one way or another, and mine just happens to be through video games. Are there any questions?
When did you find out that video games was such a release, like such an escape for you?
I don't think that I really noticed how much of an escape it was for me until I started practicing mindfulness in general. So I would say maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. But I mean, I've been playing since whenever I got my first Super Nintendo. So like when I was 4.
So do you play just like console games, phone games, everything?
Kind of everything. Mostly, I would say console games for sure, though. I really enjoy open world games where I can just explore and I'm not like stuck in a box like a platform game would be.
What's your favorite video game?
I'm so glad you asked. So I really enjoy the Fallout series. Not exactly Fallout 76, and Fallout 4 kind of bummed me out a little bit. So like I even enjoy the ones that came out in the 90s, so Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. But my favorite Fallout game is Fallout New Vegas. Yeah. And then I also enjoyed the Assassin's Creed games and the Far Cry games.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your like for those open-ended games reflects like how you like to live? You don't like to be boxed in. You like to be able to explore.
That's actually really interesting. No, I'm the exact opposite. I like to stay in my house and just chill. I don't really like to go out very much. I mean, I love to go on hikes and stuff, but I don't do it as often as I should.
Oh yeah, sorry. I wanted to ask, are you like a fan of more like those type of video games that are more of science fiction?
I It kind of depends. So I definitely do like science fiction-y games, but I think that I tend to go more towards realistic games. So like, for example, the Far Cry series are a little bit more realistic. Like one of the latest games that they just put out was in Eastern Montana. And the scenery is beautiful, like it's all very realistic, but the plot of it is not so realistic, if that makes sense. So I would say I lean more towards games that are a little more realistic. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys.